This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
The fishery and the federal election, how the lobster industry is impacting the race in some Nova Scotia ridings.
Brushing up, Halifax dentists hand out hard-to-find products for kids with disabilities.
And positive influence. Therapy dog shows some love to stressed-out students.
The melt is on over the next couple of days with lots of sunshine in the mix and temperatures on the rise. Your full forecast details are coming up.
The lobster industry is a cornerstone of this province's economy.
But it's facing headwinds, and it's shaping up once again to be a central campaign issue in some federal ridings.
Taryn Grant has this report on how the fishery is affecting the race.
In southwest Nova Scotia, lobster is king. In the face of global tariffs and local controversy, it's a topic that voters are testing candidates on during this election campaign.
You know, the politicians need to step up.
Michael Cotter has been in the seafood business for decades. He runs a lobster pound in Lockport.
The whole lobster thing, it trickles down through to the guy that's selling the bag of potatoes on the corner.
Cotter says his vote is undecided. He's looking for a government that will deal with tariffs from China and for a resolution to the controversial Mi'kmaq fishery in St. Mary's Bay. That issue soured many people to the Liberals under Justin Trudeau.
The Liberal Ottawa thrown us aside.
Commercial fishermen want the next federal government to enforce the regulated fishing season. Issues within the fishing industry in this area also loomed large in the last federal election in 2021. Dissatisfaction with her record as fisheries minister contributed to Bernadette Jordan losing her seat. She was the incumbent Liberal MP and lost to Conservative Rick Perkins, who's running again. Perkins has been tenacious in Ottawa as the Conservative fisheries critic.
So did you lie to this committee, or are you just ill-informed about your department?
He says his approach is landing with voters.
I think the fishermen seem to appreciate it, certainly at the doors in this campaign. They say, I watch everything you do.
Perkins is up against Jessica Fancy Landry. The grade 9 teacher is entering politics for the first time and trying to make inroads in fishing communities.
The very first thing I did was I held a meet and greet in Clark's Harbor. It's because, and as a first-time candidate, I am here to learn about those concerns.
The NDP don't have a candidate in South Shore St. Margaret's. Mark Embrett is running for the Greens and Patrick Boyd for the PPC. The same issues are simmering in the next riding over, Acadie-Annapolis, where there is also a Conservative incumbent.
The solution is really to give the mandate to the fisheries officers to actually do their job. We know for the last 5 to 10 years under the Liberal government that they've been told not to do their job, to turn a blind eye to what's going on there.
The Liberals' Ronnie LeBlanc is trying to convince voters that a Mark Carney government would handle things differently.
It's the Prime Minister who gives direction, and I think, again, Mark Carney is a centrist and a pragmatist, and I think it's an opportunity to reset the relationship for the fishermen.
The NDP have Ingrid Dion on the ballot.
Illegal fishing by non-Indigenous fishermen is not something that we support, but we do support Indigenous fishers' right to a moderate livelihood.
Matthew Pigot is running for the Greens and James Strange for the PPC. Taryn Grant, CBC News, Lockport.
Sparks flew during an election debate for the newly minted riding of Sydney-Glace Bay, with heated exchanges centering around affordability and federal party leaders. Kyle Moore reports.
Good at doing, it's getting a reaction.
7 of 8 candidates faced off at Sydney Centre 200 on Tuesday. It was the first and only debate for the riding of Sydney-Glace Bay, and it was a contentious one.
I believe I'd be a good MP because I have a strong grounding in the reality of the working poor in Cape Breton. I have never once had a salaried job.
I want to make sure that you have enough money from your paycheck to pay for your basic necessities.
After the introductions, much of the debate centred around the track record of 2 parties, the Liberals and the Conservatives.
The Liberals want you to forget the last 10 years. They want to say Donald Trump boogeyman. They want you to forget the last 10 years. They want you to forget how they have divided you, how they have hurt our economy, how they have handcuffed us and made us weaker against the Americans.
It's the 10 years of darkness when the Conservatives cut Enterprise Cape Breton Corporation, cut the fishery to the bone, cut border security, the party of law and order, not so law and order.
Conservative Anna Manley took a jab at the Liberals' implementation of a carbon tax, accusing them of keeping it on the books.
And when Canadians cried for mercy on that carbon tax, when they said we can't afford to live, the Liberal government, instead of listening to Canadians, decided that they would keep it on.
Liberal candidate Mike Kellaway responded by taking his own shot at the Conservatives while touting his own leader, Mark Carney.
Climate change is real for sure, something the Conservatives denied consistently. I see it every day. In the first week of being the Prime Minister, he stopped the carbon price, but he also got his security clearance. In 1 week, folks.
Affordability, health care, and the lack of housing was also discussed. An estimated 400 people took in the 2-hour debate.
I thought the real debate should be between Kellaway and Anna Manley, and the rest were a distraction for me.
Voters will have their say on Election Day, April 28th. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Sydney.
The provincial government has sent new funding proposals to the province's 10 universities. The province would not disclose whether a tuition cap will be included as part of the deals. Last year, the government capped tuition increases for undergraduate students at 2% and required some schools to increase tuition for international students.
Multiple sources tell CBC News there have been ongoing conversations about expanding alcohol sales to convenience stores. Andrew Tanner, the president of the province's Craft Brewers Association, says they've heard an announcement could come as soon as this month. He says the group has thoughts on how it can benefit the local industry.
Some sort of requirement that they list at least 50% local craft beer, as an example, on those shelves versus just the big breweries that perhaps are not as financially strapped.
A government spokesperson says they're aware of public interest, but says no changes are planned.
And Ryan Snoddon joins us now with our first look at the weather forecast.
And I'm guessing folks were once again checking the calendar when they woke up.
Yeah, for sure. And that snow sticking around in a few spots throughout the day, even in the metro area. But the melt is on. Tom and Amy, thanks so much. As we look at those temperatures plus the sunshine, you can see Thursday looking much more early April-like. We'll see temps still a bit cool for this time of year. We should be around 7. We'll likely get there in and around Bridgewater, but most of us will be a degree or two short. But I think we'll take it, considering what the last few days have been like. High pressure will slide off to the south. That will allow for another nice day shaping up for Friday with a southerly wind, so temperatures will actually be even warmer for Friday. High single, even some low double digits under a mix of sun and cloud. And keeping an eye on this next system, which is going to be approaching throughout the weekend. Increasing clouds on Saturday. The million-dollar question, how quickly does this wet weather advance? As early as the afternoon, but right now looks like more so the evening into the overnight. Does look like it will linger for Sunday, but that 7-day not too shabby. We'll talk about it with the full forecast coming up.
Be seeing our lawns again before too long.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Well, the IWK's dentistry department is hoping its new dental care tools will make toothbrushing a better experience for kids with disabilities. But the dentists say the adapted tools are expensive and hard to find. Carolyn Ray reports.
Hi, Dr. Doria. No patient is more excited about visiting the IWK dental clinic than Mackenzie Cranage.
I support to clean your teeth and stay healthy.
But not all kids are as excited about dental care.
One of the #1 questions I get from both parents and fellow dentists is, what can I recommend to families of children that have any type of special health care needs to help improve oral hygiene at home?
Dr. Tracy Doyle says many people with disabilities face barriers when it comes to taking care of their teeth. Some depend entirely on their caregivers.
A lot of our patients have a lot of taste and texture sensitivities as well, so don't like the spicy tastes of a lot of commercially available toothpaste, for example. I've even had parents tell me that children don't like the bristles on their gums.
So Doyle formed a team that spent 3 years researching and testing the best adapted products, finding special toothpaste that don't foam up and flosses that look like nunchucks and are easy to maneuver. There's a 3-sided toothbrush with a wider handle. While she says these tools can make a difference, they're hard to find and expensive.
You have to be able to order them online, and we had to source them from a variety of locations, and that's not doable for a lot of our families.
Doyle's team started advocating and received funding to buy all the items. They're now handing out kits at the hospital and through Autism Nova Scotia so families can test them for themselves. Mackenzie has been using hers for months, and her mom says they're making a big difference.
She just goes to the bathroom and starts doing her teeth just for the fun of it. It's exciting to see that she actually likes taking care of her teeth, that she's enjoying it, and that the products are working.
Doyle is going to start sharing her findings with dentists across the country. She's hoping, as word of mouth spreads, these hard-to-find products will land on local store shelves. Carolyn Ray, CBC News, Halifax.
Well, there haven't been any cases of measles in Nova Scotia yet, but the province says they are prepared. Public Health has already started pop-up vaccine clinics and has been informing the public.
There's been a lot of talk about measles lately. There's a couple of places in the United States and further west of us in Canada where they've been having multiple cases of measles. And so we are keeping a very close eye on what's going on there and proactively preparing for the possibility of measles cases in Nova Scotia.
Dr. Muick says the focus has also been on detecting cases early to minimize the spread.
Halifax Regional Council has voted to phase out municipal use of the social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter. Many people have left X since Elon Musk took over, and there have been calls for Canadian organizations to reconsider their use of the platform. This week, in a 16-1 vote, Halifax Council has decided the city's accounts will leave by July 15th.
Exams can be a very stressful time, so St. Mary's University recruited some canine companions to help ease that anxiety. I stopped by the campus to check out their therapy dog drop-in session.
This is like the end of the year where you're kind of like, but this helps a lot. It does kind of relieve the nerves a little bit.
We try and do a lot of work around supporting mental health. This time of year tends to be particularly stressful for students, so we usually try and bring the dogs in and help people feel a little bit calmer going into finals.
So this is the second time we've done it this year, but typically get a good reaction. Dogs seem to bring in quite a bit of a crowd. It's nice, especially during stressful times like exam season, that students have the opportunity to kind of wind down, not only by themselves, but with their other fellow students on campus.
What stresses you out these days?
Everything. No.
Yeah, I have about like 3 exams in the next 4 days.
It is a very stressful time in or out of school, that is for sure.
Sometimes students may have 3 or 4 exams, or sometimes a student may be dealing with some family issues or some other things related. So
trying to balance like work life, school life, like social life as well, like just trying to balance everything. It's kind of like a lot, yeah.
Yeah, the world is very stressful right now. So I've been places and some of our regular spots that we volunteer where people come up to see her and go, I didn't know I needed that dog loving just to see. So the effect is instant, really.
What does this do for you?
I just like petting dogs.
He loves to meet people, and he's a real people person, which is not normal for a chow chow. They're usually very territorial, but he's a rescue from Texas, and this is the way he came.
Now, why did you decide to bring Chester?
I was here in the fall, and they asked me to come back, and he's been doing this for about a year. Yeah, visiting nursing homes and the schools.
Well, she gets massages and relaxation. She makes new friends. She thinks everybody that's coming is just here for her. It's rewarding for her, I think, because she makes people feel relaxed, and if they're stressed or worried, she just kind of takes that away from them for a few minutes.
What difference do you notice when somebody comes in and then once they leave after they've been playing with the dog?
It can kind of help turn off kind of the thinking mind if it's going from one class to the next and it's a little stressful. Seeing a dog can kind of take us a little step out of that and give us a little bit of energy.
It's really beneficial to everyone. I say it's a win-win-win. It's great for the dog, it's great for me, and it's great for the people we visit.
Are you feeling better?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, they're pretty cute. And look at this.
Yeah, look at that.
Some snowmen
Winter
in the
scene.
making. Yeah. Ryan's up after the break.
Little reminder of winter out there for sure, but postcard shots everywhere.
Yes, and those snowmen that we saw before the break, they're around for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah, hours for sure. They'll do the slow melt for tomorrow, but nice that they had one last chance to visit, right? It's been a couple of days. Just a reminder that we're still early in the spring, and so everything like this now after this will feel pretty good, including the next couple days, which will actually be right around seasonal or even a little below. And there is still some snow around, as we said. Have a look at this. This is a webcam shot from Mercy River Chalets. This is in Caledonia, which is, of course, right near Gejimgujik Park. And you can see
water flowing
it's a raging
there, huh?
river there.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. And of course, some snow on the left-hand side of your screen there on the picnic table, which I'm sure soon we'll have some folks there dining out. Yeah, beautiful spot there. Again, Mercy River Chalets there in Caledonia. And thanks to Nova Scotia webcams for that. And as you can see, temperatures right now around 1 in Caledonia and near Keji Park. And we've got temperatures anywhere from 2 to 3 across most of the mainland. 5 degrees our hot spot there at the Caribou Point Station at Pictou County, and 1 to 2 degrees across Cape Breton. Okay, let's look at the winds. They've been fairly light today. Or at least easing to fairly light this afternoon, and still sustained though in the 20-30 range. And we are looking at some gusts still at last check in the 40 to 50 kilometer per hour range, but the wind dial will continue to turn down and down through the overnight. And note this little disturbance here tracking across PEI and clipping northern Nova Scotia. This will sail in across Cape Breton with a slight risk of a flurry and even Pictou Antigonish as well. But overall, very quiet for tonight. Area of high pressure off to the south, that's going to keep things dominant. And then we've got this next system here across the plains or the Midwest of the U.S. That is going to be diving to the south and then up the seaboard, and that will be impacting us for the weekend. And so we'll be trying to time that rain out. As I mentioned earlier, some uncertainty with that. 12 to 15 degrees in Alberta, Regina also at 13, as well as Vancouver, 5 in Winnipeg, and down towards the Great Lakes, low single digits with some cooler air back in place there. Overnight lows tonight, near the freezing mark along coastal areas of the Tri-County area. Most of us in the -3 to -6 range. The winds will generally be light tonight. There's that chance for a patchy flurry that we watched, that I talked about just a moment ago. That will be wrapped up by midnight. Smooth sailing across the board for Thursday morning, with the exception Digby, Yarmouth, Shelburne, Liverpool, even Keji, getting clipped by a weak disturbance here in the southwest of the province for Thursday morning. Perhaps as far north as Lunenburg as well. Just a mix of sun and cloud with a chance for an isolated flurry here early on in the day. That will then move away, and we're looking at pretty nice conditions into the afternoon, mostly sunny skies. 3 to 5 to 6 degrees across Cape Breton on Thursday. Temperatures pretty nice. Sunshine even nicer. 4 to 7 degrees from eastern parts of the mainland. Similar story in through central areas of the province and back towards the west. We'll see temperatures again, a mix of sun and cloud here. Should have put a couple of little isolated flurries here on those icons, but mentioning it verbally too here. Now, as we look at that area of high pressure moving off to the east, we are going to be watching the clouds a little bit more in the mix for Friday, but still a solid mix of sun and cloud as those temperatures on Friday are going to be milder. This is closer to seasonal, even edging a little above seasonal. We should, again, be right around 7 this time of year. So 7 to 9, pretty good. Could even see some double digits. And then watching that Saturday forecast, increasing clouds throughout the day. This is the next system approaching, and it's the timing that is so key. This is the European model, which has the showers like on the doorstep for Saturday evening. The Canadian model, it's the earliest, showing showers into the mix throughout the afternoon, even into central areas. And the American model kind of halfway in between. Does look like, for the most part, late day showers, but we'll keep you posted on that. Showers in the mix for Sunday into Monday. Temperatures, though, looking set to bump up a little bit towards mid next week, which would be nice.
Yeah, getting back up there. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, why Nova Scotia researchers are testing lemongrass essential oil as a repellent against ticks. Tick season is upon us. Now, new research puts a theory to the test about how effective lemongrass essential oil really is as a repellent. Nicoletta Ferrone is an associate professor with the chemistry department at Acadia University. So, how effective is lemongrass essential oil against ticks?
So lemongrass essential oil, as well as other type of essential oils, they've been found to be pretty effective at repelling pests, and specifically ticks is also been shown to work for mosquitoes. We've tested in the lab and it works great. So I would say it works.
So how did you determine this?
We did different tests in lab condition. We basically adapted a specific type of bioassay, which is called horizontal bioassay, where basically you put the ticks into an arena container where they are surrounded by the treatment. And if they're able to cross that area, means that they are not repelled. If they're confined in that area, means that they are then repellent. In case of the essential oils of lemongrass, they were pretty much kept there, so they clearly were repelled.
Seemed to work. A lot of people are conscious about putting a chemical on their skin. How safe is lemongrass essential oil on your skin?
So lemongrass essential oils can induce a certain degree of irritation, but this is true for any type of product, even if it's natural or synthetic, if it's not used at the right concentration. Now, specifically for the concentration that we were using, as the lemongrass essential oil was safe. Now, bear in mind, we tested in lab condition and we didn't test it on people. But there are specific regulations. This is, I refer to Health Canada, where their direction to use essential oil at the right concentration that will be safe for humans and also for pets.
And so it doesn't kill the tick, as I understand it, but would it prevent a tick from moving to, let's say, another part of your body?
Yes. So what we found specifically in our study, we use lemongrass as an example of a natural product that repel ticks. We found that the possible mechanism of repellency is by inhibiting the ability of the tick to detect chemicals that will help the tick to find a potential blood meal. So they limit the ability of the tick to smell us. So this is the main idea.
And so who is this research useful for? Who paid for the research?
So this research is actually funded by the NSERC through my Discovery grant. And we have also a project is through the Alliance grant stream, funded through also MITEX, that basically covers my research program. And
so could you see this kind of research leading to greater commercialization of lemonseed oil, as a lemongrass oil, in a product that would help to deter ticks?
Yes, I see great potential. In fact, that these grants and this funding help us also to establish a relationship with industrial partner. And this is specifically the Alliance grant that I got together in partnership with Atlantic, a Nova Scotia company. So the idea is evaluating lemongrass as well, other essential oil. We're working with different type of essential oil for the development of proper tick repellent product, because my research looks at the fundamental understanding of the tick chemiosensory system. So try to understand how tick process chemicals, they process odors, attractants, and repellent, and using those information for actually design an effective and also environmentally friendly tick repellent product. And this is what we are doing in a collaboration with Atlantic.
And so how relevant is it given the severity of the tick population in Nova Scotia, for example?
So it's very relevant because we are all experiencing an increment of tick population. Was shown through the e-tick submission that we have received. I'm part of the ETIC team, which is a fantastic digital platform where people can submit a picture of the tick that they may found on their self or on their pets. And we saw that we had a more than 8,000 submission from last year, indicating that ticks are very much around us. We found them, and we probably need to be more. We need to be ready to protect us against any tick bite and the spread of diseases like Lyme disease.
Yeah, lots of interest in ticks, particularly this time of year. Nicola Ferrone,
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming up, Donald Trump has changed his mind once again. He's now pausing reciprocal tariffs on dozens of countries who've agreed to negotiate and raising tariffs on China.
And fewer Canadians are traveling south of the border amid Donald Trump's trade war, but new data shows it's not having the same effect on Americans coming here. Welcome back. Donald Trump has backed down from the reciprocal tariffs he slapped on countries all over the world for now. but not for China.
The U.S. president is increasing tariffs on Chinese imports even further. He's accusing Beijing of showing a lack of respect. The CBC's Chris Reyes has the latest from New York.
In a single social media post, President Donald Trump made a sudden midday reversal of his historic tariff policy, announcing that he's raising tariffs on China to 125% effective immediately and pausing reciprocal tariffs for 90 days on more than 75 countries that have agreed to negotiate. Speaking at an event, President Trump insisted his strategy for getting better trade deals for the U.S. is working.
We have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well. And they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal. And we have many other countries, as you know, many more than 75. And they all want to come, and they want to come here, or they'll go to Commerce, or they'll go to Treasury.
China and the U.S. have been in a tit-for-tat escalation on tariffs since President Trump first announced a tariff hike of 34% on Chinese imports last week. In a statement, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said the U.S. escalation of tariffs on China is a mistake on top of a mistake, which seriously infringes on China's legitimate rights and interests and seriously undermines the rules-based multilateral trading system. As of Wednesday morning, China had raised tariffs on American goods to 84%.
You might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors. And we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate.
Secretary Bessent said negotiations are already underway with a number of trading partners, including South Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. He also said that each deal will be negotiated separately by the president. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
The election campaign is now at its midpoint, and a sharp contrast has emerged on how one federal party is dealing with the media. In addition to not allowing journalists to travel with the campaign, Conservatives are also putting strict limits on questions. Kate McKenna explains.
We will now take questions from the floor.
Every day, Conservatives take questions from journalists. But unlike the other parties, they only take 4, and they pick who asks them.
Is that why you're not getting a security clearance?
On Wednesday, tensions boiled over.
Sorry, there's just a protester here. Go ahead.
It's a reporter trying to ask you a legitimate question.
But it wasn't a protester. It was a reporter who wasn't handpicked by the party.
We're trying to listen for the next person.
Trying to get answers from the Conservative leader.
Thank you. Next question.
The Conservatives have an iron-tight grip on message control. A campaign source says it's about minimizing risk. Conservatives have also tried to block access to local candidates, including in Newfoundland last week.
There's a picture of you going around on social media wearing a Make America Great hat.
This event isn't open for questions. It's just for coverage, okay?
We're on a wharf in City Hall.
Yeah, it's a public place.
I do think that a strategy to limit access to Mr. Poilievre is a safe one.
This pollster says the Conservative strategy has pros and cons.
It's one where you think you are well ahead. All you need to do is control as much as you can and just get to the finish line because you're so far ahead in that race. As we've seen in basically 3 months, that strategy doesn't seem to be working because the entire landscape has changed.
The Conservatives said this campaign would be one of the most transparent and accessible in recent history. But so far, Liberal leader Mark Carney has taken twice the number of questions from journalists. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
And Liberal leader Mark Carney was in the Conservative stronghold of Calgary, announcing his plan to make Canada the world's leading energy superpower.
Its approach that is defined by 3 objectives. Energy security first. This means using Canadian energy to displace imported energy, including energy imported from the United States.
Carney says a Liberal government will focus on trade diversification to reduce Canada's reliance on the States and work to develop both clean energy and conventional energy with lowest emissions. Carney also pledged to get shovels into the ground faster by speeding up review of projects. After Calgary, he headed to Saskatoon for a late afternoon rally.
New Democratic Party leader Jagmeet Singh is vowing to fight to cover all essential medication under pharmacare.
These are the medications that are most often prescribed. This is going to give a lot of relief to people that are worried about being able to afford their medication.
Singh says an NDP government would establish a complete public pharmacare system within 4 years of being elected. He adds that his government would start the expansion with 100 of the most prescribed medications, which would cover about half of all prescriptions in Canada at a cost of $3.5 billion. Singh made the announcement during a campaign stop in Vancouver before heading to the First Nations Summit to make a speech. He'll wrap up his day holding a campaign event in Saskatoon.
Overseas now, our crews are picking through the rubble in Gaza City looking for survivors after a deadly Israeli strike on a multi-story residential building. And as Chris Brown reports, aid groups say the strikes aren't the only things taking lives.
Israel's military says its attack that flattened a concrete residential building in southern Gaza City struck a senior Hamas official. But at the impact site, desperate rescuers pulled the bodies of children out of the crushed debris. There were about 20 or 30 children here. We're still looking for them, said Fadi Abu Al-Qas. We're removing stones with our hands. We have no tools and there's nothing to help us, said Ahmed Abdu Absha. While Israel's military says it does everything possible to limit civilian casualties, international human rights groups have repeatedly assailed the IDF for indiscriminate bombings and for giving little or no evidence of the military value of the people it targeted. Aid groups say Israel's food, fuel, and medicine blockade of Gaza is now also at risk of taking lives. It's been nearly 6 weeks since the military last let in any supplies, arguing much of what's delivered ends up with Hamas, a claim the UN denies.
Many of the patients...
Medical groups say cases of malnutrition are mounting.
They come with signs of malnutrition, moderate or severe acute malnutrition. Some of the cases come with associated disease as respiratory tract infection.
As France's president visited the Egyptian side of the border Tuesday, there were pallets stacked high in warehouses, waiting to be sent across to Gaza whenever Israel agrees to let them in.
Basic water. Colleagues are living with less than 1 liter a day of water, and it's going to, become even worse.
The Israeli agency responsible for coordinating aid has proposed what it calls a structured monitoring and aid entry mechanism. But the UN has rejected it, calling it too restrictive, even callous. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Donald Trump's trade war has put a damper on Canadians traveling south of the border, but new data is showing it's not having the same effect on Americans heading north. And as the CBC's Dale Manukduk explains, experts say there is a great opportunity for the hospitality and tourism industry to take advantage.
Destination Ontario recently did a survey in the U.S. market to understand American travel intentions.
58% of Americans are still considering coming to Ontario to travel this year. And there are a few reasons for that. Number one, it's a very safe country. Number two, we have a lot of shared values. Ontario is known for being very diverse. Number three, just making travel plans is easier.
American tourists make up about 20% of all tourism spending in Ontario. There was a drop-off in visitors after the COVID-19 pandemic, but it's slowly been creeping back to the norm. This despite booing the American national anthem and various municipalities taking down the U.S. flag. The Destination Ontario survey did find that Americans are concerned about how welcome they are.
So normally we have very high favorability ratings there, but it's dropped about 15%.
Canada Border Services data shows virtually no change in the number of Americans crossing the border in March of 2025 compared to the same time last year.
The Americans will continue to be here because it's not about the Canadians or Americans. This is about one guy. The two countries are very friendly together.
Perhaps the biggest reason Americans are still traveling here is the exchange rate.
It's basically a third off, so it's a great deal to come to Canada right now. So if you're paying $200 on a hotel room, that's really saving $60 a night. So that's a pretty substantial savings for coming across the border.
The tourism industry of Ontario is hoping governments pour more ad dollars into showcasing the province as a destination.
The industry is elbows up as it relates to policy, but we remain arms open through hospitality.
Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
While putting a price on emission has become a political landmine here, the push for renewable energy may be seeing a boom in other parts of the globe. A new report says more than 40% of the world's power now comes from low-carbon sources. Susan Ormiston looks at what's fueling that growth and why Canada is falling behind.
Globally, renewable energy now supplies 1/3 of electrical demand, and if you add nuclear to that, it's more than 40% clean energy supplying electricity. Here is the driver. You can see on this graphic that solar electricity is doubling every 3 years. That's according to Ember. It's an energy think tank. The juggernaut there is China. It is accounting for about half of that growth curve, and you can see how that's going up over the last 3 years. It's not growing that fast everywhere, but as Ember's policy lead says, it's renewable growth and it's climbing consistently. It's no longer the issue of how to build it, it's how to grow it with planning or legislation that's often slowing down the pace.
The most important thing really is to clear away barriers. So in many countries, there are planning regulations that are restraining the growth of both wind and solar because the planning process can't keep up with the pace of applications.
With electricity demands growing, oil, gas and coal together still generate most of the electricity globally and actually rose in 2024 to a record high. But interestingly, Ember points out that most of that growth from fossil fuels was to run air conditioning from those unprecedented heat waves in the US, China and India, as well as other places. So what's Canada's picture? Well, it's not in the top tier of renewable growth. Our solar generation, for example, is about a quarter of the state of Texas. But when you put that in context, we have a relatively clean electricity source because so much comes from hydroelectricity. In fact, we have a stable of energy choices, including oil and gas, as well as hydro. So in some places, there's been a disincentive to build out renewable energy, and that needs to change.
I think we're at a point where we absolutely do have to be forward thinking. We have to be looking at what kind of demand growth we're going to see. And we do definitely have to be focusing on prioritizing wind and solar. They are the cheapest form of electricity. And so if we increase the share of wind and solar on our grids, it will drive down costs for Canadians, electricity costs in particular.
There is a lot happening in the renewable energy space, in spite of the fact that we've heard very little about it during this election campaign. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Toronto.
A U.S. biotech company says it's caused the de-extinction of a famous wolf by resurrecting a species that died out more than 12,000 years ago. The CBC's Anna Ram looks at the science behind it and the skepticism it sparked among experts.
Meet Romulus and his brother from another mother, Remus, raised by humans and genetically modified to resemble dire wolves, creatures that haven't existed in more than 10,000 years.
We went from kind of the 73,000-year-old skull and the 13,000-year-old tooth to puppies in about 18 months.
Studying those ancient fossils, Colossal Biosciences edited the genes of modern gray wolves to birth 3 pups, an example of de-extinction using a marquee species.
Run to the litter. That one's yours, Snow.
Yes, inspired by scenes like this, though resurrecting extinct animals might bring another comparison.
This is some species that was obliterated by deforestation or the building of a dam. Dinosaurs had their shot.
What Colossal made is 99% gray wolf. It acknowledges that, but says this is to inspire and develop new tech to help conservation efforts.
There's human ingenuity out there that we can apply to helping protect species, to slow the rate of biodiversity loss and potentially reverse it.
Critics say the ethical challenges go beyond the care of these creatures to the door this kind of experiment opens.
It kind of feeds this belief that technology is going to save us from all of the mistakes we've made to mess up the planet.
So, we shouldn't worry about extinction because we can always just go back and recreate those animals.
Conservation experts also say it may distract from what we do have on this planet.
We don't have direwolf, but we have tigers, we have lions, we have wolves themselves. We have these great predators ranging this earth which are in trouble and need our help.
For now, the company says Romulus and Remus will live on a secluded 2,000-acre property. And it says it's still moving ahead with the next goal, bringing back a woolly mammoth and a dodo, or at least what looks like them. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
Stock markets in Canada and the U.S. shot up after President Donald Trump paused his reciprocal tariffs on most of the world for 90 days. Here's a look at the markets as we head to break. This is Nova Scotia. And this is Nova Scotia on your smart TV because CBC News is now streaming local. Get local headlines, weather, and community stories, plus newscasts and live programming on your favorite connected device, all for free. It's called the CBC News Nova Scotia streaming channel. See your community on your connected TV and mobile devices. Your local news streaming channel, now available. Well, I took a picture of my snow-covered backyard this morning and almost sent it to Ryan's Picks.
Yeah, my deck chairs did the same thing. It was like,
Winter Wonderland.
Memories.
Yes.
Hopefully, distant memories of very soon. You have to think, I have to think that we won't be seeing scenes like this. I'm sure we'll get a dusting. Towards the end of April, even early May, we can always see a few flurries. But like this, have a look at this picture. I mean, we're not going to be seeing scenes like this, I wouldn't think, anyway, until, let's say, next fall.
That's a winter scene for sure.
It is lovely, though. We have to admit it.
Yeah,
as
it
much
looks
as I
very
don't
nice.
like to, it is beautiful.
Sarah, thank you so much from Schooners Cove, and a beautiful shot indeed. Ryan's Picks at cbc.ca. Couple of flakes possible over Cape Breton this evening. Tomorrow, note in the southwest of the province, some increasing clouds there. Forecast model's pretty consistent on at least a couple of flurries passing in this region. May stay just offshore in the Gulf of Maine, but at the very least, it looks like a mix of sun and cloud with a chance for an isolated flurry there in the southwest on Thursday morning. Otherwise, Thursday is going to be a terrific day. A mix of sun and cloud, a mainly sunny day for most. And you can see temperatures 5-6 degrees, looking pretty good. We'll see winds from the southwest, 20 gusting 30 to 40. Friday, temperatures bumping up even further, 6 to 9 degrees. A mix of sun and cloud on Friday as our next system will be trying to approach an area of high pressure anchored just off to our north and east, though. Those two kind of doing battle. And then we're watching the wet weather moving in. It appears late day Saturday into Saturday night. Still some uncertainty in the timing of when that rain arrives on Saturday. Perhaps as early as the afternoon for the south and west, but we'll keep you posted on that. Showers more broad across the board on Sunday into Monday. And then temperatures bumping up into mid next week.
Yeah, way they go, up again.
All right.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, the recent snowy weather in Nova Scotia hasn't stopped the march of spring elsewhere.
Yes, we've got some blooms in Amsterdam to lift your spirits.
We love the lovely smell of the park from all the flowers and also all the nice colors all around. It's just breathtaking.
This is part of a 250-hectare flower garden south of the Netherlands capital. Thousands of visitors make a beeline to admire and enjoy the floral riot.
A team of gardeners plant and manage millions of tulips, daffodils, and other flowers.
Last year, the park saw more than 1 million visitors in a span of 8 weeks. It's considered one of the biggest tourist attractions in the Netherlands.
That's pretty impressive for sure. That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.